we go. And welcome to the party. Welcome to a Tuesday midday edition of You Can't Do That on Salesforce. And with this Tuesday edition comes a couple of things I need to set up that I didn't realize so that the stream actually has the right title and stuff. But let's do that super quick and also get our we might have an expired we might have ourselves an expired scratch org as well that we're going to need to update, but that is okay. What are we doing today? What day is it? It's Tuesday. It's Inefficient Icon Inventory Day. And that is not what the title of the stream says, so we can fix that. Let's fix that. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to, let's see, I think we're going to have to stand up a scratch org over here because it looks like we can't query our org anymore. We'll give it the one last chance here. It's been a minute. We weren't live last week, so some stuff is a little bit off. Oh, hold on. There might be hope. No, there is no hope. Let's create a new scratch org. Give this guy a name and set it for a long time, and hopefully all will be well. That's going to take a second, and I'm just going to update the title of our show. This is actually episode 24. There we go. Fix that one. See if we can fix that over on the YouTube also. Calls about assets, huh? Cutes. That sounds like a nice, easy conversation. I assume you're talking about Salesforce assets, yeah? Like Service Cloud flavored? All right. Hey, Scratch Org is alive. Let's get out here and see what's going on. Someday I'm going to figure out how to get the chat stream into my window, because I feel like sometimes I'm over here talking at people and other people are like, what are you talking about? So, all right, we got our scratch org back. Welcome back to the Inefficient Icon Inventory. Let's see where we left off last time. Trying to build a zoom and pan function inside the component, because the more pixels you add, the smaller the icon gets, and I want people to be able to kind of zoom in and out of the screen so they can go in and pick more icons or pick more pixels to change the color of. So we're going to try to make some of that happen here today. One more thing to save. All right, let's go get... Oh, before we do that, I better give myself the permission set that we need to... Oops. To do anything in this org, because everything is permission set based. And oh, you know what we got to do first? We got to push our stuff into this org. We can't have much of a scratch org without the components in it. So we got ourselves an org. Now let's push our changes in there. And close a couple of windows off to the side. I don't know if you guys can hear, my laptop is howling like a helicopter, courtesy of the fan. It's a little loud. All right, changes deployed successfully. Let's make sure we got our permission set here. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Just trying to got a browser window open here that is really misbehaving. Let's see if I can get it shut down. Let's see, we back? Hey, we might be back. Hey, we're back. All right, cool. Sorry about that. That was weird. Let's see. In case all that froze, we made our scratch org, pushed our changes back into it, so now we're back in business with inefficient icon inventory. But first thing I got to do is give myself this permission set, or we're not going to see much of anything for the app. I'm still going to try to shut a few things down off to the side here because I don't know what's going on, but something is killing my laptop over here. Bandwidth is good. Processing, not so good. All right, let's manage assignments here. Okay. Add my user and let's get going. Now we should have access to, there we go. All right, so we got no icons and no colors, so we should, let's see, did I make any scripts that generate that stuff for us? No, but that probably would be smart to do. Yeah, let's, for now, we'll just manually drop in some colors. Let's just do black and white. All right, so there's two colors that we can create icons with, and let's just make sure everything is still up and running. So we'll say, let's make a small test icon. Let's just do like, let's just do 10 by 10 or 20 by 20. We'll default all the colors to white. Let's save that. Okay. Now, when we our last episode, we were. Oh, actually, we haven't created the pixels yet. So, because I have a job, we know that the pixel creation for the icon is gonna be pretty slow. So we want to do that async, as we've looked at in some previous episodes. I just don't have that job fired up yet. But what I do have is a batch job that does it for us. And we'll run that real quick in the background. Get that started. Double check that our job is running, and then we get the pixels we need. Because, you know, it wouldn't be inefficient if we weren't creating Salesforce records for every pixel. But I think we need them for all the fun stuff that we get to do when we have, once we do have pixel records. All right, how do we do? We also have the wrong UI out here right now. Let's see. We should, it was 20 by 20. We should have 400 records, 400 pixels. And we do. All right. So each one represents a X and a Y coordinate. All right. So let's get back over to our code and see where we left off. A quick save on our backlog here. So trying to get our pixel matrix, which is really all the pixels in question, to display in kind of like a zoomable and panable window. And I think we got zoom figured out, sort of. Maybe not. Maybe we have to roll back to, let's do that a second. Let's roll back to our initial state here. So this is really the goal. The end game is I want to have a container div that the icon lives inside of, that you can drag the icon around inside of it, and then be able to zoom in and out of the icon so you can get in on those pixels and have a little bit more, just be able to see a little bit better. Before we get into that, though, let's make sure that all systems are still go, because it has been a minute. And I know that our zoom's not going to work because we kind of rewired all of that, but make sure that we can still render our icon and its pixels. Yep, we can do that. We should be able to click on these. Yeah, we can. It's really hard to see, but I promise you they're turning black. And if I refresh this, those all should have saved. And they did. All right, so baseline, we're good. We can still click on pixels and change colors. We have the world's worst color picker here where you literally just put the hex value in and, hope for the best. But now we want to take this and get it inside of this. So, and then we obviously still want all these to work, but we'll come back to that. So overflow, what is overflow doing? That's the div that is giving us our view box, 200 by 200 with that border. The overflow should be hidden inside of there. And then, so that maps to this here. And then we have icon flex, which the attempt was to make this draggable, and silly me thought, oh, well, if we just mark it as draggable, it becomes draggable, right? No, that's not how that works. So that's okay. Let's take this off because I don't think it's doing anything. But meanwhile, the icon flex should tell that component to here's the other thing. So this width, we ultimately need this to be dynamic. I'm going to change this to 20 now because the one icon that we're looking at has a width of 20. I need to be able to tell icon flex how big it needs to be so that it will take up the appropriate amount of space. This is probably a bad example of a component that we have in here because it's too small for the space in question. I was testing with a 400 by 100, and it might make sense for us to just go back to that and make sure we've got something that fits the space. Originally, I wanted to just have, so my original test was, let's just have a rectangle in here, and maybe we need to step back to that a second because I just want to be able to drag the thing around, right? That's kind of the goal right now. Within this view box that's not here, but should be bigger. Let's bring that back. Got our view box back. I'm going to hide the icon that we're currently rendering. And refresh this so we can see what our test looked like. Okay, so there's our icon, right? It's getting rendered in there now, and it's doing what it should do, courtesy of the flex here. The icon. Oh, so this is our background color on the pixels. This also needs to be merged or generated dynamically instead of what we're doing here, which should be happening. Let's see. We really just need to update so we can write a class on each of the pixels here. For now, they're all red, just to kind of keep it simple. So let's do this. Let's trash this icon, create a new one, because I want to have a bigger icon. Like, let's see. Our whole question around size is really limited by the number of records that we can fit in a Salesforce org, a Scratch org in this case, because we create a record for every pixel. Because that makes things more interesting. That's our only limiting factor here. So let's delete this icon. We'll make a bigger one. I was using 400 by 100 as an example. So we'll do that. I just noticed the camera is a little wonky. I'm gonna try to fix something here a second. Let's see, I'm kind of fading in and out on y'all. Oops. Okay. let's adjust. You guys can't see me right now, but I'm trying to make the help the camera focus a little bit better. How do we do? Better or worse? Let's find out. Maybe better. We'll see. Okay, that icon is gone. Let's make a new one. We'll go 400 by 100. Default color, sure, white. Save. Run our batch, which should happen automatically, but doesn't yet in the background. This is going to take a little longer to get 40,000 pixels into the org, but that's okay. Prep that. Watch the grass grow now. Not too bad. Pretty quick. Pretty quick. Just posting a quick link to the stream. All right, 40 out of 200. We're getting there. $67. Haha. Can we do this? Ho ho. Bet there's a fancier way to do this, but I'll leave it in the browser format for now. $168, almost there. I assume I'm not the only person that ever sits around and watches their Apex batch jobs run with great excitement. Here we go. Okay, our 400 by 100 pixel, our 400 by 100 pixel icon now has 40,000 pixel records associated with it. This will take a little longer to generate, no doubt, but that's okay. These dimensions, I think, are getting thrown off because of my just because of my spacing here. So let's see. Maybe we can take a second and make this. We need to make the width here on icon flex equal. We need to make that equal our the width of our matrix. What's the best way to do that? Well, we can probably just grab the... I think we can just grab that object somewhere in our code. So we do our initialization, we set up all of our stuff. Pixel matrix, do we still need that? No, we're just looping over pixels. So technically, this whole build pixel matrix thing does not need to happen anymore, which I'm happy about because we don't need to create a bunch more data structure when all we really want to do is just lay stuff out. So I'm going to just turn this off and let our pixels be pixels. This is the callback function that tells, because we got some streaming API mojo in this thing and some platform events that, if we recall, will communicate to other people looking at the components so you can see each other's changes. So that's cool. We got to leave that and then subscribe to it. But in here, I feel like we could grab the element. I got a query selector in here. So I'm already doing it for the zoom in and zoom out. So what we really want to do up here, after this is all said and done, is adjust a few styles. So I want to find icon flex and set the width equal to the pixel width of this thing. There's icon flex. Style.width equals, where's our icon? So I think we want this dot icon dot width here. So that should take care of this setting. I'll leave that defaulted to 20 and let's make sure that it actually changes here. Am I looking at that right? Icon flex. Yep, good. Then the next thing we'll need to do, because they all look like they're a red background right now, so we'll change .px to, actually we're going to need probably to write out the style for each of those based on something else. So that's okay. All right, that should be updated now. Let's see if we got the right size here. Oop, or did I just completely break it? Also completely possible. Let's see. Well, let's see. It initialized, but it's not rendering anything. So why is that? Did we actually need our... do we actually need our component to... Do we need to call build pixel matrix? I don't think we do. Oh, no, we do. Yeah, we're still doing some logic in there to build out the matrix. Specifically, we're setting... Oh, right, we've got background color built in there. We just need to tell it to use that, actually. All right, so that's... I think we're in a little bit better shape there. Do we need to build the... See, we don't really need to build the matrix, I don't think. Because we're not using it. We're not using the pixel matrix. We do have color in there. Let's see. Something, though, is keeping us from rendering here. Not sure why. Let's see, make sure we're getting our data back here. Let's pull in the debugger and try a couple, just test a couple things. I do need to turn debugging on in this org for Lightning. All right, so now we should be able to debug, hypothetically. Okay, let's find our component here. This is always the funnest part in the debugger, is where are they? Here we go. All right. Well, this looks nasty. Hold on. Let's close this and restart and get it again. I always feel like I get a different view every time I connect to or start debugging in here. Nope, that's not it. Okay, where are we? We are, boy, this just doesn't look right. I swear there's a different view for, there's another here. Yes, this is the one I want. Okay. LWS Lightning Web. Okay. I want to check and see that our elements are coming back. So we have this for loop in here that, because we only pull the icons every, like 5,000 at a time. So we got 5,000. Let's go all the way down here. It should loop through this successfully. Okay, and it did. And our pixels are now a whole bunch, so I got 40,000 pixels in there. And then I'm trying to set the, oh, you know what, probably this probably has to be 400 pixels, not just 400, maybe. Let's see. Try that. It is landing on it, or it looks like it's identifying it correct. Let's make sure we find the element, I suppose. Oh, we're not finding that element, so maybe that's the problem. What's your error? Oh, okay, that was not it. Did we get anything back in the console? It didn't really complain about anything there. It didn't render us anything here, though. Let's see. It's getting our data back, but it's just not rendering anything. All right, well, maybe it was just the pixel reference. I would like to, here, let's refresh. I do want to see if we're actually capturing the element that we need to apply that to. Hopefully my debuggers are still in here. Yep. Okay, so element, let's go to the next step. Yeah, see, it's just like skipping out on that. So is this .template.query selector not locating anything? Perhaps. Yeah, that's null. Okay, so whatever we're trying to get at is not rendered yet. So we may need to call that at another time. But even without that, it still should be rendering. I guess that's the part that's a little bit weird to me. Like there's no reason for this to not render anything at this point. So, all right, let's take that. Worst case, we would just end up with a, and here I'll manually set the width over here as well. This is what we want to make dynamic, but we can't for some reason. This rect is nonsense. I want to get rid of this so it's not confusing me. Okay, let's refresh this and see what's going on. Okay, so it loaded. Oh, we got all of our pixels in. And do we have anything barking about some stuff unrelated to us, I think, in the console? Okay, we're paused in debugger. Let's go. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So by setting that, we were good. All right, that's what we want. Is our zoom working? I don't think our zoom works either. That's okay. We don't want to worry about that yet. Let's see. So this rendered okay. The overflow, if this is 200 by 200, we got another 200 pixels over here outside of the view box. And they're all red because the background is saying so. But we can change that. I believe we can put, let's make a style call here, because we are creating a style property on the pixels as we loop through build pixel matrix. We're writing that in. Not terribly elegant, but it's there, and it's what we need. So they should all be, well, mostly white. No, all white now. All right, so we should not have any debugs now. There's definitely a little bit of clunkiness when the there's a little bit of clunkiness when the what? All right, stop that. When this first loads up, just because of the amount of data amount of records that we're shoving around. Okay, I think we're done there, but did we update our... Oh, would help if we actually wrote the style out there. And then let's get rid of background color there. I think the other thing we could do is just write the width. Let's just make ourselves a property for icon flex, like a style. That might be easier than trying to identify the component. So let's make that. Let's call that, what do we call that? Icon flex style. Sure. And then we'll set that where we were attempting to do this. this dot icon flex style equals width plus this. And then we could just write that into the style on the page. Take this out, because we need all that no matter what. Clean that up a little bit. All the stuff down below here, I think it's all going away. In fact, we probably should take... I just want to get rid of all of this, because we got maybe a possible conflict between PX and PX here. And hopefully we haven't been relying on that to make all this work. I just noticed this is floating left, and I've got my pixels also floating left, but we shouldn't need to float because we're using a, I think because we're using Flexbox here. So as long as we set the width to be what we need our icon to be, it should wrap. So we'll say class or style here equals, what did we call that? Let's move this over. Icon flex style. Okay, there's that. All right, let's go again. Hopefully now we get pixels with white backgrounds and, well, at least, and actually 400 pixels wide as it should be without having to reference it manually. Or not. Let's see here. Well, shucks. Where's our... Let's inspect. Yeah, we're setting it here, so icon flex style. Let's make sure it's actually 400. I forgot a semicolon. I don't know if that matters. Oops, and I'm trying to change it in the browser, and I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that should matter, but let's find out. Okay. Okay, icon flex style looks right for a style now. There's no reason why it shouldn't render, but it doesn't. What is going on? That's such a bummer. Let's see, is anything else blowing up? I don't think that has anything to do with us. So if I go back and just manually set this again. First things first, let's put this back and make sure that this isn't causing, or I should say this wasn't making things work unexpectedly. It's always going to take a second to load. Okay, the answer was no. It's not. That's not the issue. So the next thing we did was hard code our width here. So I'm gonna get rid of this stuff again. I just don't understand why we're not able to catch this style. Okay, now I'm really confused. Now nothing is rendering. Wow, what changed here? We've got our box. We've got our. Let's take the style out of here, I guess, and take the flex style out of here because they don't seem to be responding. I'm just going to hide this too because it doesn't really. I don't need to worry about it right now. Something's off. Oh, okay. That rendered. Okay. All right. So that's further than we've gotten. Now the pixels are not rendering, at least they're not rendering with any color. That's okay. Let's reintroduce the style component on the pixels. I had here somewhere. Oh, jeez. I'm just going to retype it. Okay. So we reintroduce the style on the pixel div. And let's see if we at least get some color in here. Then we know that that's working correctly. Then we'll figure out if we can get that width dimension to actually be dynamic instead of having to hard code it. Okay, we're waiting. Okay, so something might be up with our style definition here, because we're not getting anything to load currently. So where's that happening? We do build pixel matrix, right? In doing so, we loop over our pixels. We set a style property. We also do matrix stuff in here, but we really don't need to anymore. That's the only thing that's really... I can hard code the background color. Yeah, so let's do that just for fun. And then we won't reference it here. Okay, saved all that. Now, we took away the dynamic color setting of the pixel. So now it's manually set to white. Let's see what happens. It's pulling down our records, I think. Okay, so that worked. It loaded them all in white. So why can't we set this dynamically? I'm gonna let's I'll just take these commands out because they don't really, we don't need to loop through all of that. So background color, right? Background color, we're trying to set it dynamically here. It should be the hex value, just as we're doing here manually. So for fun, I'm going to change this. I believe all of these are defaulted to white currently. Let's check one. Let's check an icon. Color is white. Okay. So I'm going to default them to black. And then I want to see if we use the override value here, if it defaults to white. In fact, you know, let's do this. Let's save this also, and then let's debug. And I want to make sure that this is actually, if for some reason it doesn't understand that pixel, it doesn't understand this pixel color relationship. So let's inspect, and I want to refresh. And then let's see. This goes a lot slower when we have the console open. Okay, so I have the override in place, and nothing is actually, now nothing is loading. So that's weird. That is weird. Okay. Let's see. What is going on? I'm stumped here a little bit. I'm not even. All right. This is frustrating. We're not even getting our components here. Like, it's not even. And we don't have the style defined. So, what in the world is going on? I don't understand. This is all default stuff again. We're not overriding anything. I don't know why we're not. I know it's a lot of pixels to process, but we should be getting something back here because this is all default stuff otherwise. Okay. Trying again. We know it's going to take a hot second to get the data in. But boy, it just doesn't want to do anything anymore. Oh, I'm stumped. Oops. We're not even getting our like component to register here, which we had before. We're not seeing the component register. Is there an error somewhere that's preventing it from, that's telling us anything? Not really, but it's confusing that I can't even see. There's no C in here, and then there's no lightning down below here. So what's going on? Does this mess stuff up? We don't have anything. Let's take this out here. I mean, this is it. There's nothing else, I don't think, that's. I'm just going to resave the We've got nothing dynamic here as it relates to style, which has been our problem up to this point. We don't have there's not much here to. Let's do this. I wonder. All right, maybe I'm the dummy here. I think if our pixels were. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna let the dog out the door. Okay, maybe that was it. Maybe that was just stupid user error. I'm gonna try to sit down here. Move the magic desk. Try not to break anything. There we go. Maybe. A little more. Okay. Maybe that was it. Maybe I'm the dummy and could not see the maybe it wasn't rendering because I was not adding anything to the pixel matrix, which is an old property that we no longer need. Hopefully, we shouldn't need it. All right, it's loading. Learning data provider. I don't know what that was. Okay, go. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to close the browser and fire it up again because I am totally like, why are we stuck in the debugger? There's nothing debugging. Okay, big push at the start, and it's still not loading anything in. Wow, really stumped here. All right. Can't debug if it's not loading anything here. So yeah, that's kind of a problem. Whoops, what am I breaking? Breaking my desk. All right, let's close this and close this and close this, and we'll start up our let's just open our scratch org again. I don't understand what that was about. I'm going to roll this back even further and just do something real dumb, like have each pixel say hello to make sure that it's doing anything. It's super weird. Thought we were on a roll. Thought we were close to getting our, at least getting our colors dynamic and such. Okay, there we go. Still got some blurry action going on with the camera here. Hang on a second. Okay, well, at least it rendered something, right? Let's just inspect this and see how much it rendered. So that's curious, right? There's nothing inside of there's nothing inside of here right now. So let's back up and let's try to debug. This is here now, so we're good. We're happy about that. We should have a bunch of. I know we're setting this value, but we're not doing anything with it. So I'm just going to set my breakpoint on there. All right, so at this point we should have all of our pixels in place, which we do. And then we call build pixel matrix. And the only thing that's doing right now is setting this style on each of the pixels. So let's get down into that. So in this context, this dot pixels? I don't know why it's not letting me debug on the line that I need it to, but let's step in here once. All right, so pixel.px.style is px.color.value. Yeah, so we should have everything. And then px.style background color equals whatever. But even still, we're not doing anything with that. So we step through each of those. So now we should have plenty of pixels to render. We're not doing this intentionally because it's no longer needed. So well, I'm not going to step through that 40,000 times. We'll let it run and I'll check in here at the end when it's all finished. Matrix is nothing right now, so I'm going to double check that pixel matrix isn't in use. Let's inspect this again. It still seems like we're not rendering anything out. And I'm not sure why. I just can't see anything in the console that is preventing that from happening. So, okay, let's look around a little more. Our pixels component, or our pixels property is definitely full. I wonder, I'm just going to change this. I don't think it's going to do anything, but if we only want this to render when it's first initialized, so let's see what that does. Maybe it's just the onslaught of change in the pixels array that makes the browser really sad. I don't think that's going to be it, but I'll try anything at this point. So now the net effect should be we don't get anything to render until all the data comes in. Okay, we do breakpoints at really weird places. We still haven't rendered yet. That's expected. Are we still breaking? No. Hey. Well, maybe that's the problem. Well, maybe we were, because we are doing multiple calls to, well, what we're doing is we're loading 5,000 pixels at a time. So we don't hit a, technically we don't need it for a component or for an icon this size. 40,000 we could all load in at once, and maybe that makes more sense to increase that size. But still, I think what's happening is we're loading. Every time we're loading, we're pushing into pixels, and maybe that's somehow causing the template rendering to freak out, because we're shoving so much into there. I don't know. It's just weird to me that it loads. It's loading okay now, and it wasn't loading okay before. So I'm going to go with that theory, and maybe we can experiment with that later. But that could have been the source of all our trouble. Let's find out. We are now, background color is black. Yep. And we are stepping through our pixels and setting the style here. So let's take baby steps and try to add back our style here, which I believe an inline style should override a class. Let's save that. So one step at a time. This should now give us pixels that are white instead of the default black per the style sheet. Let's find out. I'm doing empty cache and hard reload every time here because I just don't trust the browser. Ooh, something going on outside. Okay, as expected, we don't have anything rendered yet because I'm pretty sure that the browser still needs to, or I'm sorry, that all the data still needs to download. But again, this feels like a weird state now. Like I think we should have seen something by now. I'm going to refresh and try once more. That breakpoint that I set there is just the last step of the way. Okay. Again, this doesn't do anything. We should have this style on all of our... in fact, the best place to do this would be right here when we've initialized. And we have. And now we should render. And we don't. And we're not rendering, it seems, because of this. Right? I mean, I can't think of anything else that... That's the only thing we changed. So, okay, let's go back and compare. Now we have no setting on the... we have no style setting on our pixels. We get through our matrix. Oops, now we render. Okay, then we've got it. So that's weird, right? That seems weird. Do we have a rendered callback? We have it connected. We do not have a rendered callback, and I don't know that we need one, but I was mostly curious. We don't need any of this anymore either. I was mostly curious if that was part of the issue. I was wondering, do we need to track? Maybe that's part of our you know, we track pixel matrix, we don't track pixels. That could have also been part of the reason why it wasn't rendering. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why it's not rendering our changes here. It's kind of like one-shot deal, right? So let's track the pixels. Let's put this. All right. Let's just change. I'm not going to save that yet. I want to make sure that this still works now that we enable tracking on the pixels. And did we set up our breakpoints still? Yep, okay. Useless breakpoint 1. We have initted. And the browser is trying to get all this out. Okay, all right, so still good. So now let's add our style back. You know, this is also kind of on that precipice of, should we create a component for the pixel? I haven't gone there because I'm mostly curious about the performance. Is it better to have just the icon maintain, kind of manage each of the pixels, or is it better for the pixels to manage themselves? For better or worse, we're creating 40,000 divs in the component this way. Is that better or worse than creating 40,000 components with divs in them? I don't know, but it would give us another space to, manage state and that kind of stuff from. All right, so now, hypothetically, let's see if this style thing causes chaos again. I'm now tracking the pixels array because it's a complex data structure, and I think you got to do that in LWC. It'll track primitives automatically, but not complex. I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint because there's no purpose in it anymore. We still have a breakpoint on our initialized step. So I'm hoping that we end up with a box that's half full of white pixels. And if that's the case, then we're dragging our way back to where we need to be here. And if nothing renders, then we still have a problem. I think we still have a problem. Yeah. It's just not rendering anything. That's what's super weird. I throw this in, nothing works. I take it out, we're good. So I'm going to take it out again and prove that we're back to good, but we're back to good with black pixels that are not what we expect. Yeah. What to do? I don't understand why a class reference. We could try something dumb. We could take out they could take out this class reference and instead just write style for it, right? And then we can grab all of, our height, width, and background color all together. Let's try that. Because we're writing the style here, so let's just say width 1 pixel, height 1 pixel, cool. And then we'll take it out of our style sheet. I think we left our background color to be set there. Yep. Okay. Style sheet doesn't have it anymore. And then I'm going to just flat out replace this. So we get px.style in there. And now there's no style sheet reference to output that. So we made a couple of changes on the way there, but they all make sense to me. I think we still have our debug in place. Yeah, there's our breakpoint. Okay. So now what? Still nothing. Still nothing. That's really weird, because we were doing the same thing down here. You know, in this structure we were good. Up here, not so good. It's curious because we were just looping our pixels, and here we were looping our pixel matrix, but we don't even need to generate the pixel matrix anymore. It wasn't doing any. The only thing pixel matrix was doing was just giving us a different data structure to loop over. And the only reason we did that was so that the style would play nice. And then I learned to drop about Flexbox and realized we didn't need to do that. So, and as we can see, if I take all this nonsense out, it's this right here. It's this style that is just ruining everything. Is that reference wrong? I feel silly for asking, but is style wrong to use this way? I don't usually do inline styles. I get that, but we kind of need to in this case because we've got so many pixels to manage, unless we create a component for the pixel itself, which can then, you know, we can do things a little bit differently. But I'm a little stumped at why it works from the CSS file. If I put these in, manually set it, but it doesn't work from here. It's very, very strange. Maybe we should just create a component, and then the component can manage itself, be responsible for its own life cycle. And maybe it'll be too many components. But I don't know. Let's find out. I'm gonna go that path. We'll see what it does. Okay, so let's make a new. This will be an interesting experiment, no matter what. We'll call it icon display pixel. Okay. What are we gonna pass this thing? We're gonna pass it. Let's pass it pixel data. That'll come from the parent. All right, and what else do we need on here? We need, I think that's it, at least to start. We'll put something silly out here. Just put an X. Okay, so I'll output the letter X for each pixel that we generate. And what we're going to do here, instead of, we're going to do icon display pixel. And the pixel data equals pixel. This, we're going to use, oh, we probably need to set the key on this also. Let's going to expect that because we're looping, and that's fine. Take this out. Save that, and we'll save this for later. Okay. So basically, we should get 40,000 X's. Let's see how we did. We've introduced another component. So our icon display is going to have 40,000 children now. I mean, it already had 40,000 divs. We'll see what it thinks about this. Longer is better between the time of hitting that breakpoint and continuing to the final render. This is a lot longer. This is what I was curious about. Like, it's now initializing 40,000 component children. And taking a minute to do that. Well, we got them. Okay. Hey, cutes. We are working on, I call it the Inefficient Icon Inventory. And it is meant to be a collaborative pixel editor or icon editor with pixels. And it was working. And then we started building some UI. I want this to, because you can define how big you want your icon to be. So a 400 by 100 pixel icon is, I mean, it's not huge, but it's kind of big. And I'd like to have a view box that you can zoom in and out of so that you can see the pixels, basically. And then you zoom in, change some pixel colors, zoom out, go to another spot. And meanwhile, your friends, family, coworkers are doing the same thing, so you can see their changes, in real time. All that worked, and then I started working on this view box thing, and now I'm in like a, I think I'm not so much in a like a LWC quagmire. I feel like I'm in a CSS quagmire. So that's what we're trying to figure out now. So we got our X's. That's good news. I think we also, like, I think the browser's having a not so lovely time with all of the components that we generated in the process. Let's inspect an element here, if I can. Yeah, this is what I thought was going to be the issue with the LWC situation. So where is our... Got 73 errors out here too. What's going on with that? Not sure what those errors are. Arguably, there's no practical application. That's what we do on the show. Practical application is, I don't know, you get to screw around with your coworkers and build pixel icons together. So it's a team building feature. Let's go with that. What on earth are all these error messages? Weird. Okay, so I still can't. Oh, there we go. Let's inspect one of these and see what is going on. Yeah, we got a little more styling to do once we get any styling to work here. All right, so these all rendered. Okay, I want to run this again. I think the hard part right now is, so just by adding this child component to icon display, I think we've added a whole lot more overhead to the page. In fact, it feels like maybe I killed my browser in the process here. I'm going to close out this console window and see if that's... Maybe just close the whole browser window in general. Let's start fresh. Let's start fresh. Okay, back to our icon. So it's loading, but doing quite a bit of work to get there. Aha. Look at that. So much work. That's an interesting difference, right? The introduction of this child component, of which there are tens of thousands being generated, puts quite a load on the... Well, it came back to life there, and okay, they all got loaded. So it'd be interesting to figure out how exactly to get around that. We do have them all now. Now I need to turn them into actual pixels. So there's quite a few of those. Let's expand this if we can. So just to play along a little bit here, because our original issue was why can't we just get the background to render on these? Here's that component. Here's what we wanted to have happen. And I know there's some things that aren't, we do have the pixel data. And I'm looking at this and now Cutes asks, unrelated to what you're doing, how challenging is it to learn flows from your point of view? That's a really good question. And my view is skewed because I've been around flows since they first showed up, and before that had workflow and stuff like that available. I mean, I think it just comes down to what what's your experience, kind of working with logic to start and understanding how how you put flows together to be able to understand, assigning a variable, making a decision, saving data, right? Those pieces. I think it's very approachable. It assumes it does assume that you got a little bit of background and just kind of like logic and process flow, but beyond that, then it just gets into the nuances of the platform and how. I think the other thing you have to be aware of is how Salesforce works with data and how it saves data. There's different contexts of saving. There's like, a flow can do stuff before a record gets saved, and then it can do stuff after a record gets saved, and it's useful to know what to do when in those cases. Usually you would use a flow in the before context to make changes to the record that's about to be saved. Right? So you could, if you need to populate a field before a record saves and you don't want the end user to do that, you could do logic to fill that field for them. And then an after context is when you want to modify other stuff. So maybe a good example is like if I save a contact and I want I want to update the number of employees on the contact's related account, add one to it because I just created this new contact. Making up some business rules here, but I guess maybe that could be a story to tell. After that contact saves, the flow related to that contact could go find the account that it's related to and increment the number of employees. And then maybe when that contact is deleted, it does the same thing in reverse. It goes, finds a contact and, decrements the number. So, I think if you can tell a story like that, all the tools are there in Flow to help you get there. But I think knowing the context of what to do when, and then knowing the some basic kind of process flow concepts are helpful. And then Flow's fairly approachable from there. It does walk you through. I don't want to say it walks you through step by step. You still got to know what you're trying to solve, but I found early on that it was helpful to have like simple questions to answer, right? Like those examples that we just stepped through. Also, I think it's something that I've taken on over time is don't do too much in a flow, right? Split it out into multiple flows because you can now control the sequence by which flows execute. So I used to write these like big honking flows that would, before a record is saved, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things. And it got confusing because you'd open up this flow and it would be this giant, kind of pile of spaghetti. But when really what it was doing was like it was doing this, then it was doing that, then it was doing this, then it was doing that, and I was just stringing them all together in the same flow. I find now that my pattern is break them out into very small chunks, give them useful names, and then you can rely on the sequence. I forget I think it's trigger sequence or flow sequence. You can manage that now to say run this, then run this, then run this, then run that. So, excuse me. I've found that to be helpful just to avoid, if you're making a flow and you have to go back to that flow a month from now and you have no idea what that flow is doing, then it probably was too complex, not because you didn't need it to do the things that it did, but just the way it was organized. So I don't know if any of this is helpful, but those are, I guess, learn. Get familiar with process, flows, understand the context of, before and after as it relates to saving data in flows, and then just don't make your flows too complicated. Have more flows that do less rather than less flows that do a lot. It'll give you more flexibility to organize them. And then there's a ton of people producing a ton of content out there. First flow is how to take data that would be present on a campaign member and move it to a lead to account for first touch, last touch marketing. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, so you're kind of traversing, that campaign member record knows its its related lead. I think if I remember right, I think campaign members relate to leads and contacts. So if you wanted to get to an account, I guess it depends on how your org is set up. You probably, if you, I don't know if you'd be able to traverse to an account through a lead unless you've got maybe a custom, a custom field there. Typically, you've got leads that then convert into accounts and contacts, but your mileage may vary. But you should be able to. So that would be a good example of do that after the campaign member is saved. So because then you can traverse from the member up to its lead, or again a decision to make. If the campaign member is related to a lead, do this. If the campaign member is related to a contact, do that. In either case, it sounds like you're moving up. You want to say, hey, if your first touch last touch value is when was this campaign member created, so you could use the created date of the campaign member record and maybe stamp that into the related lead or the related account. Probably making that a little more simpler than it is, but that feels like a story that you could get from here to there with. But and don't be afraid to learn by doing. I mean, I think that's the other beauty of the platform is like you can get yourself a sandbox and go crazy and make it do all kinds of terrible things and mess it up without having to worry about messing up production. And that's how we learn. I can definitely attest to I learn better by getting my hands on and experimenting. I do think there is a lot of experimentation in flow because you got to see how it works, and B, sometimes things don't always work as expected. Yep, trigger based post save, exactly. Yep. So after campaign member created, go find related account or related lead, stamp value, whatever value you want to use there. All right. Meanwhile, over here, see, I just feel like these child components like kill the browser. Rendering 40,000 Lightning components is maybe not the strategy that we want here. Though I did just have a little bit of an epiphany. I wondered if I just had a syntax error here. I wonder if I have been messing that up the whole time. I have to go back and look at the recording and see. I'm going to flip back over to I think I'm going to close this browser again because it seems like I think we agree that having Lightning Web Components for the pixels is not going to be a great strategy here. So I'm gonna roll this back. I feel like I've been a dum-dum the whole time here, and I've been saying px.style instead of hey pixel.style. Let's get rid of this. See if I was just staring cross-eyed at the code all this time. It may very well have been. Can't seem to get rid of this browser window, though. Might have to bring out the... Oh, there it goes. The other thing, Qts, and I don't know if it's I don't think it's an issue with campaign member, but there was a time when not all components were, not all objects were available or accessible in Flow. I think that's fewer and further between now. I gotta believe that campaign member is an object that Flow can execute against. That's been one of the biggest enhancements of Flow is just how accessible it is to to do stuff in your org. All right, so let's see. Drum roll. Am I just a big dummy? I'm gonna get rid of this. Well, I'm not gonna do that yet. I think we fixed that error. I really do think that I was referencing in this property incorrectly, and that it could be why nothing was working. Let me close this other component that we're not going to probably be using here. All right, this may still be an issue that we have to figure out, but let's see if we get some pixels that we're expecting in the right color that we're expecting them in. Browser opening. Get out to our here's hoping that it's just been a syntax error the whole time. Let's see, did I actually save the parent component? I think I did. Yep, I did. Well, would you look at that? I think we got it. I should be able to click on these and, yep, tiny little pixels turning from white to black. Probably hard to see on the chat, which is why I want this to zoom. But that did work. Okay, I'm just gonna refresh this again. So it seems like just writing out the divs does perform a little bit better than having a component to represent the pixel. I was kind of expecting that to be the case. But that wasn't our issue. It wasn't a question of do we have a do we need the div or do we need its own LWC? We don't need the LWC. I think, just an idiot and laying it out or referencing it incorrectly. So now the next question is we also want to dynamically reference, or I should say dynamically size the width of our container, because that lets the Flexbox say how wide should you be before you start wrapping to the next line of pixels, which is Flexbox. Am I saying that right? Flexbox, FlexGrid is making this so much easier to. I mean, this is it. Yeah, they're super tiny cutes. I hope that you can, Yes, it's like place. That you're spot on. You're the fourth person to say that of the four people that have watched the stream. Yeah, that was kind of accidentally got there. I was like, let's come up with stuff for the show, and I don't know, let's make something that you can edit pixels with. And if I was, I guess we could do this, right? So if I duplicate this, and put these side by side, you'll be able to see. This is going to take a hot second to load, but we'll put these up side by side, and it's going to be super hard to see for sure. but I can, and I'm assuming this part is still working. None of this code has changed. But if we let the second window load in here, again, knowing it's going to take a second to happen. Hopefully it works. I feel like I need a drum roll or something. All right, let's wait. All right, get out of the top window there. So if I was two people, right, I would person on the left over here, I could click some icons, and then person on the right should see them update. But I don't know if it's working. That was early, it was earlier on in previous episodes. That's what we got working. Now I don't know why it doesn't seem to want to do that right now. But this code, the code in here there's code that's responsible for basically sending a platform event and saying, "Hey, go tell everybody else that's looking at this thing that these pixels have changed, and they should update in real time." I don't know if it's not updating in real time because our component is enormous, or more likely if something else is broken. So we'll come back to that at some point. This is where all the logic happens for that. Each component basically listens for changes, and if it sees them, it draws them. If I had to guess, too, the other thing that's at play here is we've changed how the pixels change color. That's what we've been kind of working on here today. So now when another page is listening for those changes, it doesn't know how to change the colors correctly. That's my theory. So yeah, set pixel click. So set pixel click style. We're not doing anything with hover and leave right now, but this set pixel click style probably has some references that don't make sense right now. And we would have to change those. So I guess we could debug that. But all right, here's the good news. I spent 2 hours on the stream staring at a syntax error, and it only took an hour and 50 minutes to find it, but gosh darn it, we found it. I'm going to try one more thing here in the few minutes that we have left and see if this icon flex style thing was also a symptom of what we were experiencing. Oops. So let's see if we can, instead of having to hard code this value for the width, I want to actually use the value that we set dynamically here, called icon flex style. I would love it if this worked. Because then everything's dynamic and we can get back to work. So all right, I'm going to close the second tab because we're making this poor browser work hard enough as it is. It'll be interesting to figure out how to make this run more efficiently. That's like the other thing I was, trying to figure out is how do we not have to load, or is it possible to load this in kind of more progressively, so that the browser isn't locked while it's processing all this stuff. And I guess I'm not enough of a whiz in all of this to understand what. I mean, I know that a browser lock probably happens when you got too much stuff going on at the same time. You know, in our case, we're trying to load a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and it's just making the browser choke to death on those changes. So hopefully there's some other ways around that. We do need to add all these components to the to the UI. There's no way around that, to have the level of fidelity that we're looking at. Surely there's other ways to to do this, and maybe it's worth exploring other things like Canvas or things like that. But for now, we got it rendered, and it looks like we also are dynamically adjusting the size now, unless assuming nothing is cached. We're not setting the width anymore. I'll take that out once more just to be double sure. And I really, really think that I was staring at a syntax error for most of the show right here. px.style should have been pixel.style, and that was it. That was causing all the strife. So coming up on 1:30, show's over. Got to get back to the work day. Can't do that on Salesforce. Will be at this time on Tuesdays. I'm still experimenting with different times in the schedule to see what's interesting for folks. So happy to see some more new folks here today. Thanks so much for coming. And we're going to do a Wednesday nights. We'll still be at night, 8 to 10. That's when we work on rock, paper, scissors. Got a lot of stuff to show off for that tomorrow. And Thursdays are going to move to daytime as well from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. And not this Thursday. I'm